Hey there, I'm Dave. Welcome to my channel. I've got a book review for you today. Now, I know when I started making videos again after a 2-year break that I was going to get away from the individual book reviews, kind of do everything in a monthly wrap up. But to be honest with you, I'm not a kind of person that takes notes when I read. So when I put those recaps together at the end of the month, things I read at the beginning of the month are starting to get a little fuzzy in the memory, and I'm just too lazy to go back and thumb through them and take notes after the fact. So I figure what I'm going to do is just kind of get these reviews out as I finish the books, and they're fresh in my mind. Maybe they'll make more sense. Maybe not. Probably not. But I'm still going to do the end of the month recaps. I've got some other ideas I want to incorporate into those videos, so we'll give that a try also, and just see how both of these work. You never know, may change it again. It's my channel, I can do what the hell I want. Anyway, so today, the book review. I've got for you The Vizier's Second Daughter by Robert F. Young. It's got this really nice cover by San Julian. And this came out in February of '85. This is a doll book, number 616 in the Collector's series. Now, it is not a yellow spine. Like I said, this came out in '85, and I think they stopped doing the yellow spine thing in middle of '84, I believe it was. But let's talk about the author a little bit first. Robert Franklin Young was an American author. He was born in 1915 in a little town called Silver Creek, New York, which is just southwest of Buffalo on Lake Erie. He passed away in 1986, and he had lived his entire life there in Silver Creek, except for 3 years when he was, during World War II, when he was drafted in the Army and served in the Pacific Theater. And after he got back, he not too long after he got back, he began writing. And he, throughout his career, he worked mostly with short stories. He wrote mostly short stories. The first appeared, I believe the first was published in the June 1953 issue of Startling Stories magazine. And then he just went on to write quite a bit after that. Not hundreds, but he was pretty prolific. But he only wrote 3 novels, and The Vizier's Second Daughter was the last of those 3. And like I said, it was published in '85, and he passed away in '86. Kind of a little tidbit of information about him. Now, in addition to writing, he had a real job. And again, he spent his entire career doing this. He was a janitor with the local school district, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, about The Vizier's Second Daughter. So this story follows a dude named Mark Billings, who prefers to be called Bill. He's a 21st century American. Yeah, remember, this was written in '85. He works for a company called Animanikins. And this company, what they do is they create basically animatronic exhibits for museums and theme parks and things like that. They create these very lifelike automatons, and how they do that is that they travel back in time and essentially kidnap, or what they call it is VIPnap, very important past person. These individuals from throughout history, transport them back to the 21st century, clone them essentially, get their articles of clothing down pat, get their speech patterns down pat, and they then obviously create these animatrons from them. But then they take the people that take them back, they give them some sort of injection that wipes out their memory, and it doesn't completely wipe it out, but they basically wake up thinking it was just some sort of a fuzzy dream. So Mark works for that company, or Bill, I should say, works for that company. He's not exactly your cavalier time traveler. He's kind of a down on his luck guy. He lives in a trailer next to a junkyard. He's essentially on the verge of being broke, and he just somehow he decided to apply for this job, scored well on the aptitude test, and so they gave him the training, went through all of the historical classes and things like that. And he did well, but he was sort of an understudy. He never really had an opportunity to make the jump back in time until the main dude that he was sort of the understudy for fell sick. I think it was the flu or something like that. And so now Bill is up, and his job is to go back to 9th century Arabia and kidnap Scheherazade, bring her back, and get her all cloned up for a 1001 Nights exhibit that the company's putting together. So, Bill's gung-ho, jumps up on the time sled. It's basically described as sort of a sled sort of contraption, and off he goes. And so we join Bill as he is in the Sultan's palace, and he is able to overcome any opposition that he encounters with this, essentially a ray gun, but it's an ice gun, a freeze gun. What it does is it freezes whomever he shoots. They basically are encased in a block of ice, and then over a period of like 24 hours, they thaw out and they have no idea what happened. So anyway, he's in the palace, gets into Scheherazade's room. She's asleep on a divan sort of thing, and grabs her, but it doesn't go exactly as planned. She wakes up, she starts screaming, the guards are coming, so he's running with her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes, gets to his time sled, takes off, but in his panic, a couple of things happen. First of all, he flubs the time coordinates to get back to his present day, and second of all, he discovers that he doesn't have Scheherazade, but he has her younger sister, Dunized. I think that's how you pronounce it. I have no idea. Anyway, so he's got the wrong person, and he ends up in the wrong time. Not just the wrong time, but it may not even be the wrong world. And so he goes on, he and Dunized go on a series of adventures that, I'm not really spoiling anything, but it basically becomes the origin of a couple of the stories. For example, the magic carpet, she thinks that he is flying on a magic carpet, that he must be an emir because he has this flying, levitating time sled, but she thinks it's what a magic carpet would really look like because she's never actually seen one before. And then we also have a basis for the 40 Thieves, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. So it's kind of not necessarily a retelling, but it's an origin story. Also, we've got the origin of the genies and the genie in the bottle and what that all, where that came from, or where Robert Young posits that came from. And that's basically it. This is, just a fun, sort of lighthearted romp through a time travel misadventure. Now, I thought this was really well written. It's, you can feel it. It's like a short story. There's not a lot of world building. There's not a lot of deep character development, but there's sharp dialogue, witty dialogue. Bill just has this sarcastic, deadpan, dry sort of humor, which was great. Dunized turns out to be quite the resourceful person. Gives Bill a lot of insight as to where the stories were coming from Scheherazade, that they weren't all necessarily thought up by Scheherazade. And we also have Ali, who joins the team as they go on their adventures. And he's not as nearly as well developed as the other two. Not that they're deeply developed, but he's sort of I don't want to say a prop, but he's a little bit more than a prop. But nevertheless, it turns out to be a good dynamic between the three of them. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice light read. I mean, other than the fact that I'm not the author is obviously drawing on existing material for his inspiration, which is not necessarily something I dig, but still it was fun. This is something that you probably wouldn't mind having in between, after reading some 1,000-page heavy hitter, just picking this up as a light palate cleanse. I definitely think you should give it a try. So yeah, in the end, I think, I gave this actually a 4 star. I really thought it was, for what it was a really good, well written, fun, fast paced, enjoyable little read. So there you have it. That's the review of The Vizier's Second Daughter by Robert F. Young, or at least my review. Let me know if you've read this before. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought of it. And that's it for now. So until I talk to you again, I hope you stay well, and see you soon.